Desirel Calvin-Lawrence is an author with a very different way of communicating his imaginations. The books he's written is a testament to the fact. And he's on the line with us here. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Toby. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Now, you have got a book series, which is kind of the pop series, isn't it? It begins with Power of Paradise and then goes on to Wiz Diary. So, what is the story behind those books?
Oh, the story behind the book. So, quite interestingly, in 1997, during a very tragic event that happened to Princess Diana, I
Yeah.
was in front of a TV, heard about her death, and it shook me to the core that I just lost it. I literally lost it, and I went to work and started. I didn't know what to do about that energy, and all of a sudden, I just started writing something, and it was a foreign language, and I did not know what it was. And I started writing with an unstoppable intensity. Just wrote for months and months and months, and then just stopped. But till today, that writing is still with me. But I about 10 years later, after that, that same sense of intensity that comes out of writing something took over me, and I penned
Yeah.
down Path of Paradise, and that's how the series started. I penned down Path of Paradise, and I left it in disregard for a while. And after a while, I sat down and said, you know what, I got to do something with this book, and so I re-edited it for publication.
Mm.
And I tried to reach out to the Princess Diana Foundation just so that I can send this thing out to them in one way to raise funds for the Princess Diana Foundation. But somehow it's just you can't just come into the UK without having a direct visa and all that. So I just gave up on it. So I said, listen, I'm just gonna sell this book and support the Princess Diana's Foundation because I've left the book for a while, never did anything about it. And I was like, you know what, this could be a good way of doing something positive with this book. Let me use some of the proceeds to support the Princess Diana Foundation, while I use the rest to pursue some kind of philanthropic deed on the planet.
Yeah.
And then the Wiz Diary came about years after I written the pop, and I just again another stroke of alter state again, and I just started penning these words of wisdom, and I wrote like 200 verses, some of which were taken from Pop to Pop Paradise, and
Mm.
I put it up for publication as well, and called it the Wiz Diary. Very interesting snippet. Quite a number of reviews that's been done on it, but it's quite an interesting read because sometimes I read it myself. I read it to my wife. Sometimes when she does things that are completely out of hand, I say, you know what, this is for you. Because this is something you can walk on if you actually read this. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to see how this turned out after a while.
What was it about Princess Diana's death that hit you so much?
I've not known Princess Diana in any way. It's just
Yeah.
the fact that I'd always heard about her philanthropic deeds, and I've always like what a wonderful woman this woman is, and
Mm.
that's always been what's on my mind. Like wow, such a beautiful woman, and that's all that I think about. And all of a sudden, I open the TV, and bam, I'm like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And I lost it. I was walking home that night. I was walking to work that night and lost it. And I didn't lose it in that sense. I was just my spirit was agitated,
Mm.
was so agitated. And I got to work that day and I was like, you know what? I gotta do something about this energy. And I took out a pen and a paper and I started penning down something. And what I was penning down was unlike anything. It was like a language I didn't even have an understanding what it wasn't English. I know I'm writing English. I can put this down. This is a completely foreign language to what I've been used to ever. And I
Yeah.
just kept typing, I'm penning this thing down from one end of the paper to the next. And I kept doing it. And I did this for months. It was crazy. And then eventually I'll stop doing it. But again, it's something about that energy. I guess again, it triggered it triggered a
Yeah.
state in me that was not normal. And I believe was kind of
Yeah.
psychical or something like that. You know.
Yeah. A lot of people might feel that being upset about a death of someone that you never even knew personally doesn't make much sense. But of course, now that the Queen's died, a lot of people have experienced that.
Yeah, may her soul rest in peace because
Mm.
her reign was such a peaceful one, one that brought nations together in a silent way. It's just she's gonna be missed. I know that. It's and I just hope the whatever transpires after today
Mm.
rekindles that same spirit on fervor in her
Yeah.
reign because it's a pity, but
Yeah.
life happens.
Yeah. So, how would you describe the main content of the books?
The main contents of the books are pretty much the Power of Paradise. Once and I'll say something very interesting about the Power of Paradise.
Yeah.
Very interestingly, it was after a while I started making the connection to Princess Diana, and this is why I re-edited it for publication because it's taken a long time for me to come to this realization with these books. But for the first Power of Paradise, I realized the characters in the book are something that you will see in the character of the princess.
Yeah.
Something you will see that is completely her character. So that when I re-edited the book for the publication, she is the one on the book. Not in the one the book, just I sculpted the image of her and quite a number of powerful characters in the wall that have passed before us, like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln,
Mm.
George Washington, Teresa, and all this very interesting personality, Nelson Mandela. So all these different personalities are on the book, just so that it captures the essence of the pure character of this woman that I'm trying to convey. Even though I don't talk about it directly in the book, but I'm connecting it to the pure souls of this
Yeah.
earth left. And something about a character, if you read something called Table Manner,
Mm.
even Perfect Hostess, Table Manner, so many of the stories in this book portrays the kind of character you've seen this woman. Very interesting, very, very, very given, very, very noble, very, very positive, and very given. It's some of the characters you will see in this book, even to the point of characters that are completely changing the world around them by just the acts of their deeds. Just crazy. And so when I look at that book, Power of Paradise, I realize there's something very, 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 very unique about the book that also portrays this woman in a very interesting light, even though she is not the one I wrote the book about. But it's the fact that it was written in a state of mind that kind of reminds me of the past when I started writing this unknown language.
Yeah.
And I could start making a correlation between the characters of these the characters in the book and the princess. I realized that there's something to be said about what is written in this book, and this is why I'm going to be using contributions from this book to support the Princess Diana Foundation to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that I get, I mean, whether tiny change or not, I just and even if I have to support her from my own funds, I would do it because something about what she has done is. Or the kind of experiences left for us to think about is very positive, very positive.
So, how long did the book take you to write?
Like I said, I was writing with unstoppable intensity. I just started
Mm.
writing without stopping. And there was no preconceived thought behind it. So if let's assume you just start writing and you don't stop and you just keep writing, that is it. And just like the first time when I started writing like that, and when the princess died, that's exactly
Mm.
how I started writing when I started this book, and I did not stop. So for like about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks. I think later on I finished the book after about a couple of months, but for like 3 weeks nonstop, I kept typing. Or like 2 weeks nonstop, I kept typing nonstop, and the pen at least about how many about 30,000 words or more.
Yeah. And are there going to be more books in the series?
I believe there will be more books in the series. I believe the series starts with the Wiz Diary. And I'm looking at that. I'm looking at all the snippets of wisdom that I used to start Pop, the Power of Paradise, and is in Pop. And I'm thinking this might be the foundation to write other stories into the future. I just have to be in the right state of mind and environment to do that, so that people can get more ideas about to connect to a greater truth that inspires their highest potentials.
Why are the books called Power of Paradise and Wes Diary? What's the inspiration for the names?
It's interesting you say the Power of Paradise. What's the inspiration with the names? This is what I believe. I believe every one of us on this earth, if we decide to invite the good in our lives, if we decide to invite that good side of us, that side of us that reaches out, that opens the door for others, like what you're doing, you might think is not monumental, but it could change the world in a very big way. And these little things we do that just impacts the lives of others. We do it with a passion, with a sincerity, with a transparency, with an honesty that is second to none, and we can make this world paradise. And that's what I believe. This world could be paradise. This could be a world where there's no ill, there's no evil, there's no pain, there's no death, even that much. Because everyone has transcended the banal aspects of our lives, being able to embrace pets all over the world and have, I sit down and I look at some things on my channel, and my wife shows this to me all the time, and she shows me all the cats and these dogs, and how they're so domesticated. They do some of the funniest things on the planet. And they look so human. And you tell them back like this and they bark like this. You tell them do this and they do it like they actually understand what you're saying, which they do. And it's interesting how a world that is so embracing of others can impact the world in a powerful way. And it could be paradise in so many ways that we do not understand. And so that's what I believe. I believe these books can lead to a paradise on earth kind of phenomenon. And I believe we're all going there in some form by the acts we do on a daily basis through this interactive and very integrated world we have today.
And what else is coming up for you? Do you have plans to do other books outside of this series?
Yes, I do. I do have a very interesting book that I started even after this. After a book I started, I never got a manuscript. I started a manuscript, but it was based on the Gospels, actually. And I realized that if you dig a little deeper, the kind of the wealth of information, the wealth of information you can trigger by questions that there are in the Gospels that you can pull to every verse in the Gospel could completely revolutionize the way you think. It's very crazy. And I picked this up like in 2001 or 2002. I wrote the manuscript and I lost it. For some strange reason, I lost it. I could not find it. And I'd written for days and days, and I'm like, you know what? This could be an interesting way to trigger the deeper side of of who we are. But it was an interesting book. It was called Deciphering the Personality of God and Man, and I think it was something I need to write, because what I wrote then is beyond my own ability to understand even to today. Because it opened up some insights that was just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, where are we able to find your books, Power of Paradise and Wes Diary?
So the Power of Paradise, I literally wanted to lead you directly to Amazon where the books are self-published right now. But if you go to Heartlib, HERTLIB, heartlib.com, you'll be able to access the books directly. Heartlib.com, HEARTLIB.com. You should be able to access the books.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Yes, you are the best. Thank you so much for having me, Toby. I truly appreciate your time. I really do.